So in today's video, I want to talk about something I like to call a Fuji dump. Since my X100VI goes everywhere with me, I take a lot of random photos at different events and places or hangouts with friends. Sometimes I'll walk through my neighborhood and shoot for an hour or two. Sometimes I'll just pull my camera out of my bag for a quick frame. But usually days or weeks go by and I forget to actually look at what I've shot. So I'll pull the SD card out, pop it into my computer, dump everything onto a hard drive, and take a look to see if anything actually turned out good. I haven't been on social media for quite some time, so I don't really share these images anywhere other than my website and the group text with some photo friends where we share work and talk about some nerdy photo things. But I've shared some Fuji photos to my website's blog a few times. Yeah, I need to do that more often. I'll take you guys on a photo walk with the X100VI at some point, but for today, you'll have to settle for living vicariously through these photos. My wife and I's dog Russo loves to sleep on the pillows in our bed. She was looking extra cute today, and the morning light coming through the window was lovely. It's honestly one of my favorite features of our house. I was playing guitar at church one Sunday, and walking in for practice that morning, I saw this streak of light coming across the grass and hitting this fire hydrant, so I had to snag a quick frame. The first thing that caught my eye here was the light and the flowers at the entrance of the building. I walked around a few times and took a few frames that I really ended up loving. I love the way the light gradiates across the building here. When I'm out walking around the neighborhood and shooting, this is the kind of stuff that I often look for in images. I'm always a little surprised at how much depth of field you can get out of the X100VI. I think the focal distance, of course, plays a big part in that in this particular image, but for a little pancake lens, it still impresses me sometimes. And other times, it lets me down. Here I was walking through my neighborhood and saw my neighbor Dave's cat just passed out on top of his car here. It was super adorable, so I had to take a quick shot. I saw the dappled light and thought it might make for an interesting shot to focus on the leaf that had some of that direct light on it. I love the texture here and how soft the light feels. And again, I'm pretty impressed with the depth of field the X100VI can produce. In a previous video about developing your photographic style, I said that style is the consistencies you see in a body of work over a period of time. Well, one consistency I see throughout my work is an interest in, well, interesting light, which I think is the foundation of any good image. No preset or piece of camera gear can save an image from poor lighting, which I think is why one of the best things you can do to grow as a photographer is to learn to read light and then learn how to use it to your advantage regardless of the circumstances. Sometimes that means pivoting your expectations for an image. What you had in mind might not work if the lighting isn't what you expected. As photographers, we have to take what we're given when working in natural light and learn to make the most of it. If I could, I think I'd order takeout from this place every night. I'm not sure what kind of tree this is, but I love the look of the flower petals everywhere. If you know the tree, let me know in the comments. This house felt so unique compared to the other houses on this street. It didn't feel very central Virginia, which is why I think I felt prompted to photograph it. It feels more like a mountain home, but in the middle of a Virginia suburb. This place had so much stuff in their front yard, it felt like it would make for an interesting photo. Looking at it now, I think maybe it's a little too much going on compositionally. I tend to gravitate towards really clean compositions where the subject is really clear. But I do like how there's a lot for the eye to look at when moving through the frame here. So this is the living room in my house, and one of my favorite features are these big bay windows in the living room. This was taken in the morning when the light is hitting this side of the house, and I just love sitting here and reading in the mornings with a cup of coffee and watching some of my favorite YouTube channels. So this shot was completely by accident. My wife and I were walking around one evening when I saw this car drive by, and I usually shoot in auto ISO and auto shutter speed on the Fuji, and I didn't realize that my shutter was so slow, but I think it kind of worked out. Here in Lynchburg, Virginia, they have all these pianos set up around the city that anyone could just hop on and play. I'm a passable keys player, but it doesn't stop me from jamming on these every so often. I kind of struggled to find a good composition here, and I still don't really love how I framed this one, but the sunset was great, so I had to take a quick photo. Also, there was a family next to us taking a photo together, and their dad looked like such an interesting guy. He had on this cool looking tweed hat and just looked like he would have some stories to tell. I thought about asking him for a portrait, but I wasn't feeling overly confident and decided against it. I always look back at situations like that and think, I should have just gone for it. I mean, the worst that could happen is they say no. So on occasion, my wife and I go explore this antique store in town. I visited antique stores and flea markets with my grandparents a lot when I was a kid, so I still love going to these even now as an adult. We don't buy much often, but they have a section of old film cameras that I like to check out. I keep hoping one day I'm gonna find some gem here for super cheap. So far, the best thing I've found is a Kodak point and shoot I picked up for a few bucks. And lastly, here's a few frames from a fairly new coffee shop in town that I checked out recently. Vibes were great, coffee was too expensive, and the Wi-Fi wasn't working for me, unfortunately. Thanks for hanging out for a bit and taking a look through some of my favorite images I've shot recently. I want to do this as a regular series, so keep an eye out for the next one. I'll see you next time.